Hello and welcome. My name is Frank and this week's focus is on Australia, the world's 6th largest producer of wine and one of the leading countries on innovation, creativity, brand awareness, and with big advancements in wine technology. There's some real quality to be found across all of Australia. Australia owes its success to many factors. A very rewarding climate with plenty of sunshine guaranteeing super ripe grapes. The ability to irrigate their crop, ensuring larger crops but still with plenty of flavour, and the hard-working winemakers constantly experimenting with new varietals and different blends to create something new and exciting, as well as constantly travelling to the old world to learn new techniques. I believe that Australia has received a bit of bad press with their over-the-top fruit bombs and cheaply oaked Chardonnays. John Avery himself, before travelling there in the 60s, stated that it didn't create any decent wine, to which he was very quickly proven wrong when he got there. And I think this started our company's big love for New World wines. In the past, Australia was famous for its big fortified wines, similar to port or made with the Muscat grape, up until the 50s and 60s when demand started to fall. It then started to imitate the top European wines, even labelling them as such, as Chablis, Rioja, or White Burgundy. Even Penfolds Grange used to be called Grange Hermitage because they wanted people to think about Hermitage in the Northern Rhone when they were drinking the wine. Since then, obviously, wine law has changed to prevent this from happening. Since those early days, quality has skyrocketed, with big advancements in stainless steel fermentation, producing lighter, fresher and more crisp styles of wine. I think the other thing that stood out were those cheaply oaked Chardonnays. Aging a wine in oak barrels is a very expensive process, so to cut costs on those more entry-level wines, they would ferment in stainless steel and then get a giant tea bag full of oak chips and give it a stir. This gave the wine the necessary oak flavours, but also some bitter tannins from the oak. This gave the wine a certain harsh flavour that people didn't really like. This pretty much led to ABC, anything but Chardonnay, and turned a whole generation against the grape. It's now our job to try and get people tasting Chardonnay once again. So you'll be glad to know that it now falls into two categories. Either unoaked and fresh, and it will state so on the label, or it'll be aged in an oak barrel, which will allow that gentle integration of flavour and oxygen. Australia benefits from a very hot climate, guaranteeing super ripe, powerful grapes. The issue arises of trying to hit the happy balance between acidity and sugar, making sure that there's enough freshness within the wine without ridiculous high levels of alcohol. This is achieved by either planting at higher altitude or closer to the ocean. This will help give the vineyard a gentle breeze, helping keep temperatures a little bit lower. These so-called cool climate areas are still far hotter than other countries. Irrigation is essential in this sort of climate, but it must be carefully controlled to make sure that you don't get swollen grapes with diluted flavour. In large flat areas like the Murray-Darling in Eastern Australia, production would be very difficult without irrigation. Some producers may opt for no irrigation, and these will be labelled as dry farmed, which will give you more power, more concentration within the wine. Australia has enjoyed a real freedom with its grape variety selection, allowing them to find the best grapes for the best areas, and has led to some amazing discoveries with old world grape varieties finding new homes across Australia, just like Cabernet Sauvignon in Coonawarra, Riesling in the Eden Valley, and Semillon in the Hunter Valley. With over 60% of the planting is dominated by black grape varieties, and the majority of that is Shiraz. Shiraz is the most planted grape variety across Australia and certainly its signature grape. Known elsewhere as the Syrah grape, as it travelled across the world, it changed its name. And there are some similarities to have with Syrah, but also some big differences. Similarly, it has that classic blackcurrant and black pepper characteristic with deep colour and firm tannins. But the Shiraz style will give you more jammier fruit, more body and higher alcohol. As we move away from those old world Rhone characteristics of savoury meat, we start to get more sweeter spice, like coconut, nutmeg, clove, and cinnamon. Almost every area across Australia has planting of Shiraz. You'll find it as a single varietal, but also as part of a blend. Often blended with Cabernet Sauvignon, where it takes on the role of Merlot to help soften those harsh tannins found in Cabernet, and increasingly blended with the white grape variety Viognier to imitate the styles of Côte Rôtie in the northern Rhone. Here the Viognier gives the wine a slight floral aromatic twist and a lighter body. The other key varietals across Australia are Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Chardonnay, Riesling, Semillon, Pinot Noir. But you'll always find someone experimenting with new grapes all the time. In recent years, there's been a big increase in grape varieties like Tempranillo, Nebbiolo, and Assyrtiko, so there's always something new to discover. I believe one of the things that made Australia popular to begin with was not just their great taste, but also their appeal and attraction with their labelling. Firstly, they would state the grape variety on the front label, telling the consumer exactly what it is that they're about to taste. And if still in doubt, you could usually check the back label for a full tasting note. Australia is home to those big wine brands that dominate our supermarket shelves, like Penfolds, Wolf Blass, Lindemans, Hardy's, Jacobs Creek. They're able to source grapes from a large area, guaranteeing consistently reliable and drinkable wines, making a large range of products to appeal to the beginner and the expert alike, something that hadn't really been done in the old world beforehand. The majority of vineyards are situated in South Australia, around the area of Adelaide, and then moving down towards the limestone coast, following round into Victoria and up to New South Wales, finishing around Hunter Valley. But we also have plantings further south on the island of Tasmania, as well as over on the western coast around Perth, namely Margaret River. Probably the most famous region is the Barossa Valley, located just a little bit further north from the city of Adelaide. It's home to some of the best and most complex styles of Shiraz across all of Australia. Sourced from extremely old bush vines and when possible dry farmed, although drought can be an issue in the area. At slightly higher altitude, there is some acidity retained within the wine, but the old vine and dry farming adds to that concentration and complexity within the wine. Other great areas for Shiraz is the McLaren Vale just a little bit further south. Located just next door is the Eden Valley, home to some amazing dry, fresh and zesty Riesling with beautiful acidity. I find that the Australian Rieslings develop in the bottle much faster than the Alsatian and the German styles, leading to those smoky kerosene aromas much quicker. Mix that with the intense citrus characteristics that you'll find with Riesling. Australian Riesling tends to taste like lime cordial with a couple of drops of petrol in it. Delicious. Other great area for Riesling, just a little bit further north, is the Clare Valley. Heading south into the limestone coast, we find the area of Coonawarra. It's home to some of the best Cabernet Sauvignon in Australia. Its unique Terra Rossa soil, this bright red, very crumbly soil, allows the vines to dig down deep in search of all of the necessary water and nutrients. This leads to pure and powerful wines with intense blackcurrant characteristic and a fresh, mouth-watering style, often described as minty. Think Apollo dropped in Ribena. Following the coast round into Victoria, we'll find some more cooler climate areas like the Yarra Valley and Mornington Peninsula. Here the focus will move towards Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Expect your Chardonnay to be a beautiful mix between tropical, citrus and green fruit and quality oak aging. Your Pinot Noirs will be a million miles away from the style found in Burgundy, with more jammier fruit, slightly smoky characteristic and a lot more body. If you're a fan of these styles, then head over to Tasmania. Again, a cooler climate, slightly wetter, so suited for those much lighter styles of wine. Also home to some quality traditional method sparkling wines. On the east coast, just north of Sydney, we'll find the Hunter Valley, another hot climate area with planting of Shiraz, but it's their white wine using the grape variety Semillon, which is their point of difference. Harvested very early in the season, when acidity levels are high and sugar levels are low, it's then fermented in stainless steel, completely void of any oxygen. If drunk young, these wines are relatively bland and neutral, but if aged properly, they develop this amazing, complex, nutty, honeyed and dried fruit characteristic. They're rare to find in the UK, but they are amazing. The other key thing is that due to the early harvest, alcohol levels are very low, especially for Australian wine, at 10 to 11%. Finally, let's jump over to the western coast and look at the Margaret River. It benefits from a cooler maritime climate, not too dissimilar to a warmer Bordeaux, so you can expect similar grape varieties to be found, with a focus on Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot blends for the reds, and Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon blends for the whites. Separated from the rest of the market, you'll find a whole host of great different producers like Vas Felix, Mosswood, and Cape Mentelle. Well, that's plenty to be getting your teeth into over the coming summer months, but this is, as always, only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Australian wine, with many other areas and great producers to explore. Not only is it worth tasting these wines just on their own for their own merit, but it's always interesting to taste them alongside their old world counterpart, just to see how important the effect of climate is on those grapes and the resulting wine. As always, we hope you're enjoying these videos, staying safe, and now able to share a glass or two with someone with some restrictions lifted on lockdown. As always, if you've got any questions, please email events@averys.com. We'll see you next time. Take care and cheers.